Hi, I'm Rebecca Amber Clark. Welcome to part 2 of my tutorial, Directing Your First Voiceover Project. In part 1, I went over some of the basics of holding auditions. This time, I'm going to talk about audition deadlines. An amazingly high number of people get confused on exactly what an audition deadline is and how it works, not to mention that quite a lot of people don't even understand just why a deadline is so important, both to the director and the voice actors trying out for the roles. Audition deadlines. Where to start? Let's begin with what an audition deadline is not. It is not the deadline for your cast to turn in their completed lines for the finished project. While it may be helpful to mention up front how soon you will need the final recorded lines for the project itself, this is absolutely not the same thing as an audition deadline. It is not the date before which all roles will be cast. A lot of directors worry that if they have a deadline, they're promising to have all the roles cast by that date. I mean, what if you don't get enough auditions? Does that mean you're just stuck? No. Really, it's the exact opposite. You should never cast even one role before the deadline. It is not the date you will wait for to announce the cast you have already chosen. In fact, as a director, you aren't obligated to announce your casting choice publicly at all. It's a nice bit of courtesy to let people know when the voice actors have been chosen, but most voice actors know that no news generally means no role. Again, you should not have even chosen a cast at all before the deadline anyway. So, if an audition deadline is none of those things, then just what is it? It's surprisingly simple. An audition deadline is the last date on which you will accept auditions before you begin deciding which voice actors to cast for which role. That's it. Before the deadline, the only thing you should be doing with the auditions you receive is making sure the files actually work, thanking voice actors for their submissions, and letting them know that you will get back to them after the deadline with your casting choices. If you hear an audition you really like, it's okay to feel excited. That's only natural. But even if you're convinced that you couldn't possibly find a better match, hold off on making the final decision until after the deadline. You never know. You just might be surprised by an audition you like even better. It's also really important to follow the rules for audition deadlines on any site you use for your audition. This should be a no-brainer, but I see an astounding number of people posting casting calls that violate the clearly posted rules on these sites. It happens much more often than you might think, almost daily at times. This means that for any voice acting sites on which a deadline is required, you have to use one, even if you don't feel the need to have one for your own benefit. Many, if not most, professional casting directors may choose to cast on a first-come, first-served basis, and cast a role to the first person they feel is a great fit. It's just one of the realities of the industry. But even the pros have to follow the rules on an amateur site, just like the big kids are expected to play nice and not splash all the babies in the wading pool. Remember, if you have a deadline on one site, you must stick to it on all sites. It's very, very bad form to agree on site A that you will wait for a given date before casting roles, and then go and hand out all your roles through site B before that date. This is a big no-no, and it totally destroys the whole purpose of the deadline to begin with. So, how long should an audition deadline be? I'd recommend no shorter than 24 hours, even if you're in a rush, and no longer than 1 to 2 months. For myself, I find that the sweet spot is anywhere between 1 to 2 weeks. This gives you the freedom to cast after a reasonably short deadline. On the other hand, you can always extend the deadline on some or all of your roles if you haven't settled on a voice actor for them yet. Remember that for online projects, voice actors from all over the world will see your audition. So ideally, your deadline should be written out as a month, date, and year, and if possible, an exact cutoff time and time zone. For example, audition deadline, May 1st, 2017, by no later than 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I really don't recommend using this format, 5/1/17, because in the USA, this would mean May 1st of 2017. Someone from the UK would read the same date as 5th of January 2017. So do yourself and everyone else a favor and spell everything out. It's the same with time zones. 10 p.m. in New York City, USA is noon the next day in Melbourne, Australia. Of course, not all sites do require an audition deadline. You can absolutely cast your project without one, and a lot of people do so. You'll just be limited to the sites without that rule. So why exactly are audition deadlines important? Let me give you a few good reasons. A lot of people say they have no deadline because they don't want voice actors to feel rushed to submit an audition. There's a problem with that line of logic, though. Without a deadline, voice actors actually feel pressured to submit something as soon as possible, because at any moment the role could be cast out from under them. If you might cast the role in one day, say so. If you absolutely won't cast any roles before a certain date next month, then say that. This way, voice actors know exactly how much time they have to record and send in an audition if they want a shot at the role. Remember that voice actors have schedules, just like you do, and your project is not the only project that any given voice actor will be trying out for. In between recording for projects they've already been cast for, voice actors may audition for dozens of projects in a single day. Knowing the deadlines for those auditions means that a voice actor can schedule which auditions to do first, maximizing the use of their time. It's hardly fair to expect a voice actor to audition for your project right away if you won't cast for a week, and because they were busy auditioning for your project, they miss the opportunity to audition for a different project that will be casting after a single day. Setting and sticking to an audition deadline shows your potential cast that you are mature and have a professional attitude. It shows you have patience and organizational skills. This means voice actors will have more faith in you as a project director to get the project itself done and done right. More people than you might think hold auditions, only to have the project vanish into thin air afterwards, never to be completed. And honestly, it's much more often the projects belonging to the directors who do things like cast roles before a deadline that never see their way to completion. As I said, not all directors choose to use audition deadlines at all, but if you do, make very sure you don't cast before the deadline. Here are some very good reasons why. 1. Why it's unfair to the voice actors who aren't cast. By this point in the video, this one should be pretty obvious, but let's use another type of situation as an example. Let's say your school is hosting a science fair. It's announced on the 10th of April, and students are given until the end of May to complete your projects to enter into the science fair. So you go home and work really hard to come up with the very best science project you can. You arrive at the school in the middle of May to drop off your project for the science fair, only to see a sign on the door with a photo of some other student standing next to their project and holding the first place award. Never mind that everyone was given until the end of May to submit their projects. The school decided they wouldn't see any better projects than that one, and went ahead and gave out the prize to the student with the early entry. Does this sound fair to you? Or how about this example?
Sweet! I finally moved out of my parents' place and into my own apartment. Let me just check the mail. My first electric bill. Looks like it's due next month. No problem. I'm getting my paycheck day after tomorrow. I'll pay it then. Huh?
Thank you for calling Metro Electric. How can I help you?
Yeah, my lights won't work. Is there an outage in my area?
Let me pull up your account. Oh, it looks like we've disconnected your account due to non-payment.
Wait, what? But my bill's not even due till next month.
Well, we didn't expect so many people to pay their bill already. We're done accepting payments and your electricity has been disconnected. Thanks for your interest in paying us, though.
When you really put an audition deadline into perspective as just what it is, a deadline, it's easy to see how casting ahead of time is unfair. 2. Why it's unfair to the voice actors you do cast. You might not think so, but casting someone before the deadline is even unfair to the person who got the role. Crazy, right? Well, we call it a voice acting community for a reason. Voice actors rely on each other for encouragement, constructive criticism, collaborations, and more. In some cases, voice actors may form extremely close friendships with other voice actors. So by offering someone a role before their friends and colleagues even had a chance to try out, you put that voice actor in a very tough position. Should they accept the role, which might make them feel very guilty, or as though they've somehow cheated their fellow voice actors? Or do they decline the role, missing out on the very opportunity they auditioned for in the first place? What about the rules of the website or forum they auditioned through? If you, as a director, are required to have and stick to a deadline, the voice actor may feel very awkward about accepting a role ahead of the deadline, thereby helping you to break that rule. Not only that, but it can leave a voice actor wondering if they really deserved the role at all, or if they just got it because the director was in a hurry. So self-esteem can take a hit as well. 3. Why it's unfair to you. Casting before your given deadline is unfair to you as the director, too. When voice actors are rushing, they may not be able to give you their best effort for an audition, which makes casting that much harder for you. Even worse, people who have been voice actors for longer than a few weeks, whether as an amateur or a professional, start to realize that their auditions are better spent on directors who know how to stick to their deadlines, and won't be as likely to audition for you if you don't stick to yours. This means less auditions overall, and the auditions you do get will be much more likely to come from people who are either new or not all that serious about voice acting, and aren't as likely to take your project seriously. Meanwhile, the voice actors who have been working hard for several months or more pass your project by in favor of a director who is ready to take them seriously as voice actors. So hopefully I've cleared up some of the confusion about audition deadlines and convinced you of their importance. Once you've gathered your auditions and the deadline has passed, it's time to start choosing your cast. In the next video, I'll talk you through the whole casting process. Thanks to the voice talents of Alan Winter as the college grad, and Iris Long as the electric company phone representative. Next time, we'll talk about casting, sorting through auditions, how callbacks work, and how to go about sending offers and rejections. If you have any questions about audition deadlines that I didn't cover, please leave your question in a comment below the video, and I'll do my best to answer what I can. If you missed part 1, just click the link in the video or in the description to watch it. Thank you for watching part 2, and I hope you stick around for part 3.